Um, I can't use my telephone to record anything else or to more screenshots or take any more pictures or any of that. I gotta try to download as much as I can onto my computer if it'll allow me. I've been having problems with that lately. Although I still try, I do the best I can. I'm just pretty computer illiterate and I don't have any computer help. All right, so this guy Brody D, he typed, at this point, I am asking myself if people are actually listening to what you are actually saying. What I hear is that you are saying, no, it's not right for this guy to get treated this way, but homeless people get treated this way every day, everywhere. Disposable human beings. I was homeless for quite a while and have the scars to show for it. I would like to actually talk to you, Sean. I'm Brody. I hope you are doing okay. And I typed, I had a friend named Brody in Boulder. Haven't seen or heard from him since almost a year before Natalie was killed. All right. We've got a lot of bad anti-homeless laws that most of y'all aren't even aware of, and those of you who are aware of them, you make excuses why the homeless deserve it. You think that if we just go out and get a beginner job that we're going to be able to get unhomeless. No, that's not the case. When you're living under a bush and it's illegal for you to live under that bush, even if it's on public property that you are paying taxes for because you have a job, it's illegal for you to be there, especially in Boulder, Colorado after 10 o'clock. In many places in many cities in America, it's illegal to feed the homeless. You tell them they have to get a job. Many of them have jobs, but many of them are disabled. Many of them are unhired. And why is this? Well, first of all, because you end up with a record when you're homeless. It's tough not to. Now, if you're a pretty girl who's traveling with a group, you might actually get away with it. The rest of the group might actually take the fall for everything and help you to get away and so on and forth. I have seen that happen. Only in the case of pretty girl stuff. I've never seen a whole group of folks doing that to protect a male. Not even once. We've also got now a bunch of racist crap from BLM. When you're turning a blind eye to all of the other victims and blaming an entire group for police brutality, many of those people in the group that you're blaming are victims of police brutality. They're victims of the same things that you are. Saying that these people are privileged because of the color of their skin, with all due respect, right now I am seeing minorities with the privilege. On paper, minorities have more rights than white people. On paper, women have more rights than men. Already. Before these other states start trying to pass more racist ass Jim Crow laws that avert the attention from what the real issue is. The real issue here isn't racism, it's poverty and capitalism. How do you get a bunch of poor, dumb motherfuckers to go along with capitalism? Well, you give them the illusion that they could be the next person to make it rich. That their ship just hasn't sailed in. Every American thinks that their ship hasn't sailed in yet. Every American thinks they're rich and their ship just hasn't sailed in. How many different ways can I try to say that? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, I just choked on some tobacco. I ran out of cigarettes, so I've been rolling my own. And then I did go get a pack of cigarettes. I don't know where the hell I put them. Now we got more racist laws. See, a lot of these black folks and white people as well with BLM were making this outrageous claim that fighting for BLM and black rights was going to be for all of our rights. And look what has happened. That's not even close to what they've done. That's not even close to it. Breonna's law was a good start. Breonna's law that makes it illegal for them no-knock raids. Why was that so important? Because of the body cameras. Because of the laws pertaining to body cameras. But that's in St. Louis, isn't it? So, although I am all for Breonna's law, because it does require police to wear their body cameras, that's something that myself and many rape victims who are not black, many other people who have gone through this abuse who are not black, and many police officers who have told me that they want to do the right thing and they want to so on and so forth, but you got to be afraid of losing your job as a police officer if you turn in other officers. But those body cameras mean that, well, it's no longer their word versus that other officer's. With those body cameras being forced to be on, that makes all the difference in the world. With all of my situations, the body cameras on those officers should have been on at all points in time to prevent them from doing exactly what they did. The tactics that they used, they were able to get away with because I didn't have actual help in person. I didn't have anyone to go in with me and protect me as a human being or my rights. So they got to railroad me by calling me mentally ill. Most of the homeless were former foster children, and those, as we all know, are the most victimized people in America. The highest cross-section of our jails and prisons is former foster children. The largest cross-section of the homeless is former foster children. And I'm not sure how much you guys know about the foster care system. I grew up in it. It's not fun. It's abuse. Sometimes you get a good family, and most of the time you get a family that's nonchalant. And sometimes you get a family that's really bad. But it don't matter. You're a kid. You're the one in the system. It doesn't matter that I was in the system because my parents couldn't stay off of cocaine. The fact is that because I was the one in the system, I was assumed to be the one in the wrong. That's assumed guilt. Assumed guilt. Just because your parents couldn't stay off the drugs, you must be guilty. How fucked up is that? But the other laws that we've got coming out, making it more illegal to do things that are already illegal to do to black people, to do to minorities. It's already illegal. But those laws completely bypass all of the most victimized people in America intentionally. That's why BLM has done so much harm. Because they're pretending that it's just a black issue. Shaming other victims and saying, well, we need to focus on black people right now. No, the fuck we don't. This all started over police brutality, over police murdering people. But BLM ignores all of the cases of white people murdered in the exact same way. You have to, in order to pretend that it's a racist issue. At no point in time have I pretended that there is no racism. But through all of this, BLM has pretended, outright ignored this outright racism against white people, many of whom are on your fucking side, asshole. They're on your side because they're going through it too. For you to tell them that they are privileged because they were raped differently is fucked. About power. Now, they sold this bullshit about how Black Lives Matters is fighting for all of our rights by claiming that they're going to change laws and it's going to make all of our rights better. It's going to make it better for us. But no, again, marginalized minorities. That's what we call them, right? Marginalized? No, the most marginalized people in America are foster children, and then former foster children, and then the homeless, and then the disabled, both mental and physical. Black people are not even in the top fucking 5. If you take all minorities and put them together, all of the hate crimes against all of them combined is only 1/5 of the amount of victimization that just the homeless have to go through. And that is not even police interaction. As a homeless person, your biggest bullies are the police, because you are an easy person to railroad. They can take out their aggression on you. They go and they have to deal with a black person, and they're a racist officer, and their job doesn't allow them to be racist, so they have to let this black person go. But they don't have to do that to a homeless person. Why? Because that black person was in a house. If that black person was homeless, they would have been treated completely fucking different. And we have seen this time and again. Zade Atkinson was not targeted for the color of his skin. He was targeted because Officer Smiley assumed he was homeless. And this is how police nationwide treat the homeless. And I have recorded that on this YouTube with those police officers and those interactions. And sometimes they pretend to be nice. They pretend that they're going to help. But then they never actually do anything. When you are a disabled person, you need a guardian ad litem. You need a power of attorney, or you have rights. And even with a power of attorney, that person that you've signed over your power of attorney to can take away all of your rights. Meanwhile, we've got these laws that are coming out in Nebraska and Colorado, making it basically only illegal to do this to minorities. You can still do this to white people. Police can still do this to white people, and it's okay. See, that's the problem with making it a race issue, is that these protocols are wrong, they are nationwide, and black people who are homeless are still going to be murdered by the police, and Black Lives Matters still won't fucking care because they're homeless. And all the excuses that I get to hear black people complaining about, white people make this excuse, and white people make that excuse. And I hear those very same black people making those exact same excuses about the homeless. You're exchanging one prejudice for another. How is it okay for you and not for them? How is it wrong for them and not for you? Because you want to play fucking pretend? Fuck you. If I see a black man being assaulted by 6 KKK members, I am going to defend that black man with my life, if need be. If I see 6 BLM members beating up a white person, then I'm going to go defend that white person. Why is that? Because it's fucking wrong. Duh! It's wrong no matter who's doing it. A lot of minorities that I know play the race card. You know what that means? It means they go start a fight with somebody, and then they try to get that person to use the N-word to magically justify it. Like, oh, if I get you to say the N-word, then it makes me being an asshole magically okay. But it doesn't matter if you say the N or not, because I'm going to pretend it was a racist thing anyway, because then I can win. I can get sympathy from my side because I'm black. Fuck you, you racist piece of shit. That is just as racist, if not more so, than most of the racist bullshit that you're bitching about. Now, how is it racist against black people if it's happening to white people too? How is it racist against black people if it's happening to a smaller cross section of our society at a much higher rate? How is it that all of these white people who are victimized more than all of you are now magically marginalized? Are now magically in the same position they were in before, except now there's these minorities that it's more illegal for people to take things on. So they're going to go, oh, well, we'll have to take this out on the homeless too. And now the victims are going to become even more victimized because you wanted to pretend it's just a race issue. I'm not going to pretend that race isn't a tiny part of it. Race is a very big issue. But this issue is so large that race is a tiny part of it. This issue is so large that sexism is a tiny part of it. We're not going to fix the system by making things already illegal and not enforced even more illegal. No, we need them to be enforced. And not just for black people. For all of us. We the people means we. I have taken a back seat and fought for other people's rights my entire life because those are my rights. I have fought for the LGBT community despite the fact that I am none of those. I have fought for black rights despite the fact that I am not black, and women's rights despite the fact that I am not a woman. By telling their stories and showing that it is happening to more than just your group. It's not just happening to women. It's not just happening to black people. It's not just happening to minorities. It's happening to the broke. Being broke means you have no rights, and that's how fucking simple it is. Ice in the soda bottle. Good stuff. Yes, I drink more water than I do soda pop. I drink more water than I do coffee. But I can't keep the water down unless I drink something else. Too much water and you just end up puking up your water. Also, if you want it to melt faster, it's usually best to leave some of the water in there because otherwise you basically have a layer of insulation in between the bottle and the ice. And it makes it more difficult for it to disperse the heat, which is what helps to melt it, or disperse the cool air and absorb some of the hot air around. Um, the thing is, I'm not going to pretend that these things aren't happening to black people. I haven't been pretending that these things aren't happening to black people. But all of America seems to be hell bent on making sure that we always have a victim class. We always have a group of people that it is okay to hate and shun and burn and destroy their lives just because we had a bad fucking day. And that class is the homeless. If you're a rich person, you take it out on the middle class and the poor and the homeless. If you're the middle class, you take it out on the poor and the homeless. If you're the poor, you take it out on the poor and the homeless. If you're homeless, you just have to take it. You just have to take it. You have to take the fact that the laws make it incredibly expensive for you to exist. The laws make it so that if you get busted sleeping with one night, getting busted sleeping using a blanket on public property, you've got a $125 fine for using that blanket, called urban camping. $125 fine plus 20 hours community service, in addition to court costs. And then you've got trespassing, that is considered a crime of dishonesty on your record because you were on public property. And that's going to be over $200, close to $250 all said and done. Why? And then 40 hours of community service on top of that. All together, you're talking about over $400 and 60 hours. That's a week and a half worth of work, plus $400, plus you have to go to court. You can't just pay off the fine. How are you expected to get us with that going on? Meanwhile, most of y'all, even into your 30s and 40s, are able to borrow from mommy and daddy. My dad finally helped me in Washington State, not with what I needed help with, but with the help that he wanted to give me. And that help came with a price. It came with abuse. That's what I come to expect from my dad. He's been like that most of my life. I don't remember him being an asshole when I was a kid, but then again, I didn't grow up with him when I was a kid, did I? No, I grew up being raped. I grew up being assaulted for the color of my skin. Because there was nobody there to stand up for my rights. BLM stands up for black people's rights. Who's standing up for mine? Instead of exploiting my disabilities, perhaps the police should have tried at some point in time to work with me. With the information that I have had this whole time and tried to get help with this whole time, we could have taken down literally hundreds of sexual predators. But you're not getting that. You keep telling me I got to do it all myself. Well, I have to go through this abuse. Well, I am shunned by society and shunned by the police and shunned by every community I go to because of slander that I was never allowed to defend myself against. But it's fine. Women can do this, can't they? It's fine for a woman to do this, isn't it? Because we feel bad because our ancestors marginalized women so much. With all due respect, I'm not the one who is perpetuating this rape society. You know who I see perpetuating rape society? Dating men who do that. Second of all, by going back to men who did that. Third of all, connection unstable. Goddamn. Third of all, when we have women that don't want to turn in their predators, they want to go to decent men and ask those decent men for help. And decent men end up getting punished for it by those women and by the men that they go back to. I didn't choose for you to date a rapist. And when I rescued you from that rapist at your request, and you went back to him because you were lonely. And no, they're not all rapists. Some of them just beat you up. Just. That doesn't make it okay. It's not just. But on the other side of things, I have noticed that many of the women who did not go to the police, many of them, it's because they were actually assaulting the man for long periods of time, and they left marks on those men. A lot of marks. And they're afraid of getting in trouble if they'd have called the cops. Isn't that fucked up? Good men come to your rescue. Good men are in your corner. Good men will help you out. But those are the men who ultimately end up with all of the punishment. You just go moseying right back into that relationship with the same douchebag. And then when you guys break up again, you want me to fucking forget every fucked up thing that you did. You know, I do. I forget it at least in that moment while your safety is important. Like that lady who was here the other night, afraid of her boyfriend who does have a history of beating on her. And she was afraid. Is that wrong? Is it wrong for a woman to be afraid? Do you tell a woman who's afraid that she just needs to man up? What about if a man has terrible things actually happening to him because a woman is afraid that he might do terrible things? Oh, he looks like this or he looks like that, so he might want to be one of these people or he might be one of those people. And now this man is being assaulted, can't see his loved ones over and over and over. But it doesn't really register in your mind what it's like for a man once you do that. That's the terrible thing about teaching women, first of all, this is okay. And second of all, there being no consequences for the women who do these things. It is against the law. There is no doubt about that. But somehow it's magically okay. Now, these things happen to men, they happen to women, they happen to black people, they happen to white people, they happen to all sorts of people. But poverty is the one thing that links all of them. The more impoverished you are, the easier you are to victimize. And until you are fighting for homeless rights, you are racist. You are prejudiced. You're a terrible excuse for a human being who takes advantage of others. Or you really want to tell me that Martha Stewart didn't know that was a sweatshop? These police need to be removed. I've done my best, given my resources and my abilities, to show you the truth. I need help. But I'm not the right color for people to speak up for my rights. No homeless are. You don't give a fuck.